Why is Patrick Beverley so angry? This man has no respect for any player. Who does the too small on LeBron? He had such a grudge for the Lakers after trading him, he posted a Charmin pic on IG, the ultra soft edition. Now his focus is to knock them out of the playoffs? What happened to this man? Well, once you hear his backstory, it makes sense. Pat Bev is from a tough neighborhood in Chicago where very few people make it out. Not only is there drug and gang violence, but Bev grew up without a father and his mom dated drug dealers. Once when he was 8 years old, his mom told Bev to run while she was getting robbed for 20 bucks. His grandma didn't know how to raise a man and told him, I don't know, watch all the Godfather movies? Not great. Bev says, they kind of molded me to be this little baby gangster before I was me. So he started dealing drugs in high school and was very successful. He learned the rules of the street from one of his mom's boyfriends, who was eventually shot 8 times and killed in his car. But the other path out of poverty was basketball. Bev was too poor to afford AAU, but he was so good in high school, they made a documentary about him.
Patrick Beverley, 6'2" guard, long, wiry, strong, athletic.
He's the star and the focus is on him, and everyone in that team knows that. And that's a large part of Marshall's success, is that they all know he's the man.
By the time he was a senior, Bev got an offer from Arkansas, which regularly sends guys to the NBA. He averaged 14 points and was one of the best defenders as a freshman, but after his second year, Bev's life fell apart. He was kicked out of school for cheating on an exam and found himself back home in Chicago with 2 kids of his own. To make things worse, he got kicked out of school in July, 1 month after the NBA draft. So teams already had their rosters set and it was that much tougher to make it to the NBA. Bev's agent advanced him $5,000 and in 2008, at 19 years old, he was a drug dealer again. He was providing for the family when tragedy changed the direction of his life. One day, somebody ran a red light and slammed into Bev's car, flipping it 3 times. He wasn't wearing a seatbelt, but he left the scene without a scratch. Bev remembers hearing a voice say, "You're gonna be okay," which shook him, but it didn't save his best friend. Donovan Morris was like a brother because they grew up in the same house, and weeks after the crash, the friends were hanging out in their neighborhood. Bev went home, but Morris stayed and was murdered on the street at 16 years old. Bev says, I shouldn't have brought him. I should have grabbed him. Anything, you know? I had nightmares for 2 months straight. But 2 days after that murder, he got a call to play pro basketball in Ukraine. And as crazy as it sounds to leave his family to play in another country, Bev didn't want to end up like his brother. He says if it wasn't for that murder, he never would have left. But the problem with that pro team was it was not a path to the NBA. He was in the 2nd division in Ukraine, not even their best league. Bev was on 21-hour train rides just to get to the next game. But he did everything possible to stand out. He made their all-star team. He won their slam dunk contest. So in 2009, he was a 2nd-round pick by the Lakers, about to be Kobe's teammate who just won a championship. But then he was traded a day later to the Heat, who cut him before the season. So he went back to Europe, this time with a top Greek team, Olympiacos. Bev still dreamed of the NBA, and he helped Olympiacos win the Greek Cup title in 2010. Next year, he goes to Russia and really started to hone his craft. He dropped 38 points in a game, won Euro Cup MVP. At that moment, Bev decided, you know what? Screw the NBA, I'm gonna become a legend in Europe. I'm gonna break every record, I'm gonna win all the titles, and 3 days later, the NBA came calling. 2 teams offered Bev a spot, the Cavs or the Rockets. Bev decided, well, I'm probably not gonna beat Kyrie Irving at starting point guard, so he chose Houston to battle Jeremy Lin. But then, a harsh reality put his dream on hold. To get out of his Russian contract, it would cost $1.6 million. The Rockets would only pay $250K. leaving Bev on the hook for the other $1.4 million. So should he pay it? I mean, if this didn't work out, not only would he be in debt, he would be without a job. But instead of giving up on his dream, he agreed to have it come out of his paycheck and he moved to Houston. In training camp with the Rockets, Bev created the identity that he still has today. He was a decent three-point shooter, but more importantly, a lockdown defender. The NBA is the highest level of basketball in the world, and a lot of standouts in other leagues have to become specialists just to survive. Bev found his calling cards early, and it won him the starting job over Jeremy Lin by the end of the season. Houston needed spacing to allow Dwight Howard to do his thing down low. Pat Bev could shoot the three. They needed defense to pair with James Harden in the backcourt. Pat Bev was the obvious choice. He made the NBA and was starting on a championship level team. Meanwhile, he's at home living with his mom because he can't afford his own place, making $11,000 paychecks, which sounds like a lot, but by NBA standards, it is nothing. So every night he played with a fire because he had to stick in the league to pay off that debt. In the playoffs, he guarded prime Russell Westbrook, and while he didn't shut Russ down, he got in his head and made him work. Russ went 10 for 26 in game 2 with 4 turnovers and was 1 for 7 from 3. But then Russ was about to call a timeout before Bev lunged at the ball and collided with Russ's knee, tearing his meniscus. Bev says he didn't mean to injure him, but it ruined OKC's playoff hopes. Bev did that as a rookie, so he and Russ became enemies and had heated battles throughout the years, but Russ was far from his only rival. He also has beef with Chris Paul. He doesn't care how respected someone is in the league. Gave it to Kevin Durant in the playoffs as a Clipper. Not annoying. KD actually thought it was funny. How about young, more talented guards? He even knocked Dennis Smith Jr. to the ground and busted out a tooth. But that attitude has kept Pat Bev in the league while the next up guys faded. When he earned his first big payday of $40 million from Houston, he bought his mom a 6-bedroom house in town so she could enjoy his journey too. In total, this man has made $79 million and played 12 seasons in the NBA, despite having to play in Europe for 4 years. Not many people are the Ukraine dunk champion and All-NBA defense. Once you understand his story, Pat Bev's attitude starts to make sense. Everyone I guard is like, man, how'd you get ranked in front of me? There's no way you've been through what I've been through. 7, 8 seconds left, I can go down deeper and get motivation from things that cause me so much pain that people can never get to. And what's crazy is how different a story NBA players have. One guy is motivated by pain, the other guy is still an underdog, but has a totally different reason to succeed. Austin Reeves has broke out this year on the Lakers. His motivation is unique. Check it out.